Hello everyone and welcome back to Angie's Table. So today I will just kind of be walking through my results of the PGTA testing and everything that happens between the egg retrieval and the transfer, the frozen embryo transfer for me in my case. So earlier this week on Monday, I found out, my doctor called me and told me about the PGTA results. The next day I had my follow-up with my doctor to talk about what our plans will be with the frozen embryo transfer, which sounds so surreal that I'm even saying frozen embryo transfer because that was something that this step was something I never even got to, even like the PGTA 2 years ago when I first did my cycle of IVF, and now I'm at the step where I get to my egg retrieval. You guys know, and if you haven't watched my previous videos, we retrieved 9 eggs. I do have a low AMH, but everything else is like really good, but I just do have a low AMH for my age. So we retrieved 9 eggs and all 9 matured and 8 fertilized through ICSI. And then we had 1 day 5 embryo, 1 day 6 embryo, and 2 day 7 embryos that were either rated anywhere from AA to BB. And my clinic actually doesn't save any embryos that are within the grade C range. It's only A's and B's. So we had 4 total that made it to blast, and they took a sample of the outside like this. So when they do PGTA testing, they don't take samples of the actual embryo. They take it out of the outside, which become the placenta, I believe, and they ship it off to, I use Luminary Genetics to do the PGTA testing. So what is PGTA testing? So my husband and I actually did get genetic testing and karyotyping before we started this IVF journey. So karyotyping tells you if there's any genetic abnormalities that can lead to certain issues like developmental issues in the child and all of that. But my husband and I don't carry that. So luckily we were like cleared of that. I do a video and I'll link it down below, or you can look through my playlist, my fertility playlist, where I do talk about specifically karyotyping. We did genetic testing and it came back as 0 out of like 800 genetic diseases. When my husband and I did the Zoom call with the company that we did the genetic testing with, she said this is very rare that we tested 0 out of however many. Usually most people have like a handful of things they test positive for, but we tested for 0. So we're like, okay, we carry pretty good genes. So PGTA test for your risks of miscarriage or like implantation failure. So it just like categorizes like which one you will have a very high likelihood of either miscarrying or it just won't successfully implant. And then the ones where the chances are so low, and those are called euploids. I went into this egg retrieval very optimistic. Yeah, and we made it to 4 blasts, and I was like, okay, the probabilities were really good and above average. We had 2 aneuploids, which are like absolutely like, it's not gonna work. Mosaic means that certain ones are like certain parts or maybe even like a whole chromosome is abnormal. Mosaics still have a really good chance. Unfortunately, mine was like a high level mosaic, so it was a high level of abnormality. So then we were only left with 1, and it was a day 7. Oh my God, let me tell you guys how crazy this is. So some clinics don't even wait till day 7. After day 5, they just cut it off. But I think it's more modern thing where you just like drag it out till day 7 because they've been seeing so much success with day 7 embryo transfers. So then they dragged it out and we had 2. That was also my lowest grade. It was a BB. And she just didn't think that would be the one that was a euploid. She thought the most perfect one, the 5AA, would be the euploid. So like how shocking is that? Really hope that the one that, you know, we waited for and the one that the doc, you know, shocked us all is the one that will become a child is what I'm really hoping. But anyways, there's PGTA testing that I talked about with like low chance. So the chance of this embryo, my doctor thinks that will implant it. She says she would put it at a 50% for me. And then the chances of miscarriage are so low, like 5 to 10%. She's like, basically, as long as it sticks, you will have this child. She's pretty like sure of that. My only prayer request right now is just please let it stick. And like, that's just what I've been telling the people around me that are keeping up with my journey. I think my husband's going to come in from working out. So if you hear the door open, that's him. And so there's PGTM testing, which checks for specific genetic diseases. So how my husband and I did karyotyping and the genetic testing in the beginning, if anything came back and we both have that, like let's say we both have, I don't know, let's say we both have Alzheimer's in our family, then they would specifically do the PGTM to discard the embryo that carries the Alzheimer's genetic coding. Some people do PGTM testing to make sure that their child won't have that. So we didn't do PGTM because we didn't test positive for anything. That's where we're at right now. We have one euploid. I was very sad initially, but I've come to terms with it. We decided to give it our all. And my doctor, she's like, I think you should stay hopeful. It's not healthy. If you're not joyful to accept the embryo and you're under a lot of the stress and anxiety and worry, then your body's not going to take it well. So she was just saying she wants me to be happy that we even got to this stage, and which I am. I'm very grateful that we got to this step. Yeah, she just wants me to be in a really good mood so that my body can really accept this embryo and make it stick. She wants to go with a modified natural transfer. So we won't be using progesterone and oil butt shots. And sometimes you do that up until like your entire first trimester. She thinks like, since I have very regular periods and ovulations, that my body will be strong enough to have a good lining naturally. And we're just going to do a very natural process, because she says sometimes if it's too much medication, like your body is just like, I don't want to do this right now. She thinks for me, a modified natural will be good. So I will be doing one injection. Forget what it was called, but it's kind of like a trigger shot. She said the timeline will be like I start my period, we'll start doing blood work and ultrasounds to look at my lining. And they want me to have a normal ovulation cycle. So they're going to be keeping watch on the one egg that will be dropping that month to time the ovulation. I will be doing a subcutaneous shot. She's like, the needle's this big. It's like not a big deal. So we will be doing the shot, and then a little later, I think a week later is when we do the transfer, but I'll be doing vaginal progesterone instead of any injections, which I'm like so happy about. That's kind of where we're at. She said that the difference between like the highly medicated progesterone injections and the modified natural, there isn't much difference in success rates of frozen embryo transfers. But since like my body is so in its rhythm and my uterine lining is usually very good, and it has like the three trilaminar layers, like all the time. Like I always get told that my uterine lining is very, very nice. So hopefully it just sticks. I did ask her, like, what should I do in between to increase my chances of this frozen embryo transfer? She's like, honestly, there's really nothing. I would just say that after I do the transfer, she wants me to walk around. I didn't ask her if I should go to Pilates, but I do think I'm going to back down a lot on that and just do the lower level classes. Don't want to work myself up too hard or do too many like abdominal things where I'm like crunching and moving from side to side. But she wants me to walk a lot to provide a lot of good circulation down to the pelvic area. And she said maybe like don't use any chemical products. So like cleaning supplies or like certain things. She's like, I just want you to go a little bit more non-chemical during that stage. She was like, just eat a very well nutritional diet. I asked if I should do acupuncture because a lot of people do it. And she said that's more for like your emotional stability, she thinks. She doesn't really think that it does too much medically. And so I'm not going to do that because I don't want any more needles inside of me anymore. And yeah, she's like, just live a very normal life and limit your caffeine. Obviously, she's like, don't drink. And that's it. So up until now, till the transfer, you just wait. from embryo transfer, or from your egg retrieval to your transfer, like there's nothing to do but wait. That's what happened. Just nonstop waiting. I don't know why. I thought this process would be harder with like the waiting, but I've been actually pretty calm, which is a good thing. The waiting I thought would be like the hardest thing, but it's not too bad. I think the waiting after my transfer will be very hard, but so far it's not that bad. That's how it's going. As a with the drug cost, she did tell me that the progesterone and oil injections are usually cheaper than the vaginal progesterone. At this point, we have already run out of our insurance on the medicine side. So I actually asked her to send the prescriptions to 2 pharmacies, like the one that we go through and that my insurance approves, and then the one Costco, because I know Costco just recently started doing fertility medications for a lot cheaper. And so the cash price of the Costco one is $949, and then the one through my insurance, for some reason it's getting covered. My husband and I were a little like, interesting. So it ended up being like $200 something, which we were very grateful for. And we didn't purchase it yet. We just thought like there's no rush because it's not like I need to start it right away. So the moment I start my period, I'll go ahead and order it. I think initially I was just very like stressed. My doctor wishes that it was the more higher graded embryo because the chances would be like 65%. But she also said like 15% chance difference doesn't break or make anything. Like it can be something that has 80% chance, but it won't. But something that has 30% chance can. All of that is just probability and doesn't come down to it will or she can't guarantee it will or won't happen. She's had plenty of transfers she's done and plenty of her own patients were day 7s. She's like, yeah, of course, like people get pregnant and have live successful pregnancies with day 7 embryos. So she just doesn't want me to worry, just put a lot of hope in it. We did talk about like, what if this doesn't work? What should we do? My husband and I are thinking we might want to do one more IVF cycle. We'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But my doctor also was like, let's not even touch on that subject until she's like, you might not even need it. So like, let's not talk about that. Let's just put all our hopes into this one embryo. But for my mindset, I kind of need that, like where I'm not putting my everything and all my hope into this one embryo. And in the case that it doesn't work, I don't want to let myself down. So it's a really fine line between like hoping for the best, but also not being too disappointed if it doesn't work. That's a very fine line. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try. But I think something that will help is if I have in my mind, like, it's okay, we can just do another IVF cycle. I think that will help me. So we decided that we most likely will go into another cycle if this doesn't work. And I think that will help me be okay if it doesn't work. Like we'll just try again. But yeah, I'm grateful that we are in this situation in lots of ways, like financially and yeah, but I'm just trying to be grateful every day. It's been such a long journey and I really hope that it comes to an end. So I think the next one I will see you guys is, let me see what I planned for. The next fertility video will be everything I ate the week before embryo transfer. I have a feeling it might be a glass of wine with a lot of sushi that week. But I also want to help prepare my body be in the best position to accept and for my uterine lining to be very nice and right in the range to have a healthy pregnancy. So yeah, I'll be doing a lot of research this week on like what I can do to increase my chances, but also like what I should be eating before and after, all of that. So I will share that with all of you guys next week, or my next video, which might be in 2 weeks. But thanks for watching and for joining me and staying with me on my fertility journey to hopefully becoming pregnant very, very soon. Thank you.